With all the attention last year going to the offensive line and all the issues on the offensive side of the ball, there's still another piece that needs to get better in 2023 for BC to improve, and that's the linebackers. This is a group that needs to have a bigger year. We'll get into that on today's show.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black, editor and publisher of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 network. College football is just a little over 2 weeks away from starting practice, but hey, in a couple days, things are really going to kick off with the ACC Media Kickoff with the coaching and 3 players representing Boston College. Now, as we continue to get ready for the season, and we've been getting ready for the season here on this podcast for what seems like 7 or 8 months now, we're looking at some of the things and areas BC's strong at, some things that they need to improve on. And one position, when I was going back and looking at my notes, I have not talked specifically enough about is the linebacker position. Now, this year, they're running back the same crew. Last year, it was a lot of Cam Arnold, a lot of Vinny DePalma, some solid play solid snaps by Bryce Steele. And then that was about it. So you have your 3 linebackers. They stayed healthy. You had Cam Arnold playing the middle linebacker and playing for most of the snaps throughout the season. He played over 700 snaps. Vinny DePalma was right after him. And now DePalma is on to his 9th season with the team. Cam Arnold is in his 4th season with the team. Bryce Steele is in his 3rd season. So when I look at this group, there were issues at times, definitely they were not, the strongest group. I thought Vinny DePalma of all the linebackers had the best season, but they need to take that step up. And you look at their Pro Football Focus ratings. Vinny DePalma is the highest rated, and I think he was at a 61. Cam Arnold is right behind him. So if you look at ratings, I got him right in front of me. DePalma, 63.9, Cam Arnold, 60.7. And here's where the issue is. All the way down the bottom at 46.3 is Bryce Steele. So when I look at those numbers, what it says to me, what I saw on the field, is you need to take a step forward. This is the year that you need Cam Arnold to become the linebacker, the instinctual linebacker that you're hoping he's going to be. You're hoping that Bryce Steele is going to be still that 4-star linebacker that you brought in. Both of these guys are converted safeties. They're the hybrid linebacker safety guys, but now they're lining up in the box. They need to have bigger years. We need some more explosive plays out of both of these guys because you're starting to find some of your playmakers on this defense, whether it's Elijah Jones or Donovan Azarak, or maybe even a defensive tackle. Maybe you'll see something like Chris Banks or George Rooks take a step up. But when you're talking playmakers, it seems like we haven't talked about a linebacker playmaker since Max Richardson and Isaiah McDuffie. It's been a while. It's been a couple years. So this year, this is the year where you're hoping to see Cam Arnold finally feel so comfortable out there as a veteran, as a leader who has played linebacker now for 4 years or 3 years now. This is his 3rd year, that he knows where to be, that he can make some big plays. That's what you're hoping to see. And you're also hoping to see Bryce Steele take that night. He's got to. If you're playing him significant snaps, and they played him in 413 snaps last year in 12 games. So you're playing him in significant snaps. You need to be able to get some plays out of him. Now, interestingly, Steele, if you look at what he struggled with, if you look at his grades, run defense, it was poor. Tackling was okay. And then coverage was bad. He's a good pass rusher, though. He has the highest rated pass rush grade on the team with 86.2. So he's got there's potential in here with this group to take that next step up. And it's going to be on the new defensive coordinators, with Azar Abdul-Rahim and Sean Duggan to figure out how to maximize the play of these players. I look at Vinny DePalma. I look at him as a reliable linebacker. Is he the most explosive player that BC has? No. Is he a game changer? No. But he does do some things here and there. And I don't have the plays in front of me right now, but I remember a few plays last year where he got the defense off the field with some great tackles. So he's going to be a guy that gets you what you need here and there, but he's not someone I think we've kind of seen his ceiling. You might see a little bit change here and there, but he's been around a long time. You know what you're going to get with him. To me, it's Arnold and Steele. Which one of these guys or both can take that next step up? Because when you get your linebackers back up, you have a you have a good defensive line, hopefully. You're going to hopefully have a good secondary. You're, again, hoping that these new guys are going to come in and produce. It's that middle of the defense, though, that needs to take that step up, that needs to improve so that we see what BC can do. So I look at them. And then behind them, you've got a couple younger names. You have Jalen Blackwell, who was the talk of camp last year. We only saw him for a smattering last year. I think he only played, a handful of snaps. Actually, I don't even see him on the list. So yeah, I don't know what he played last year. He's not on the Pro Football Focus rating. You didn't see him. Oh, he played 207 snaps, and he was a 54.9. So he was rated higher than Bryce Steele. You also have Davion Crouch, who played a lot of special teams last year. Didn't see him really much in game time. Those are two names. And then Owen McGowan is another name. He's a 4-star linebacker from, he's a local kid. I think those are the three that you'll see on the depth chart. Of all them, you've got some decent depth, but they're younger again, right? So you're going back. You're going to have to go backwards to go forwards. If there's an injury, you're going to probably see Jalen Blackwell out there first. You'll move over, depending on where it is. If it's like a Cam Arnold or something, you can move over Vinny to the middle and then put him in. But you could also see Davion Crouch out there too. I know going into last spring, he was a guy that the staff thought really highly of. So these are two guys that could also come in. And then you have Sayoni Hala as well. He's more of a secondary linebacker hybrid. So he could be a guy that could also see some snaps as well heading into the season and into he could be a secondary player at the safety position as well. Now, in a second, we're talking about the beginning of the season. The real kickoff for me is the start of ACC Media Days. I'll explain why in just a second. Now, if you are a first-time listener here, thank you so much for checking out Locked On BC. But if you're an everydayer, I also want to thank you for being such a tremendous support to the Locked On Boston College podcast. And I want to make sure that you enjoy every show that we have. So make sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Now, let's talk about eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay's guaranteed fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know which part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win with the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay guarantee fits only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. This is Locked On BC. I am your host, AJ Black. And on Thursday this week will be Jeff Hafley's first press conference in since the end of summer camp. We've had him on the podcast. So if you want to hear him, from last month, you can go check that out. But he's going to be talking to the media down in Charlotte. And in addition, you get to hear from all the other coaches. BC will be bringing down 3 players, as we mentioned last week. Donovan Azaraku. You're going to hear from Emmett Moorhead, and I am blanking on the third. Oh, Christian Mahogany. I couldn't think of his name for a second there. So you get all of those guys. And in addition, Jim Phillips will be there. Jim Phillips, who is in a little hot water right now with the Northwestern hazing scandal and being a co-defendant in a couple of the lawsuits that are being raised against Pat Fitzgerald and the university. So that's going to be interesting. I look at ACC Media Days as the official kickoff of the college football season. To me, summer's still here for another month, but this is when we start to see, the preseason polls, you get the press conferences, and it slides perfectly into summer football camp. So I am looking for a few different things at this media day, and I'm interested to hear more from the meta ACC perspective and from the Boston College perspective, a few specific, real important talking points. When Jim Phillips hits the stage, I don't expect him to talk about Northwestern. I don't, because he's already made his comments on Twitter, and he had a press release. So I don't expect that, but I do expect to hear more about the future of the ACC conference. In terms of the media deal, this is going to be something I feel like the commissioner is going to have to talk about, whether it's Phillips or somebody else, until 2036. Because Phillips has made it his mission, as he's been told to by the owners and presidents of the universities, that their goal needs to be to get more money to get closer to what the Big Ten and the SEC are at. Now, we just heard in the last week that the CW is going to start holding ACC media rights, which is great. It was subcontracted by ESPN. No, bye-bye Raycom. Thank goodness. No more looking for Nesson if you don't have it. No more any of that nonsense of where the hell's the football game. It's going to be on CW or one of the ESPN channels. Boom. Nice, clean. It'll help with exposure. Not sure about money, but we'll have to find out about that. I am dying to hear what Phillips has to say about the financial setup of the ACC. Since he talked last year and he talked about what, the ACC needs to do, what has changed? Where does he envision more revenue sources to come from? Because as we talked about last week, and there's been lots of great articles out there, a lot of these media rights holders, ESPN and such, are cutting back on costs. They're not going to open up their wallets to pay more. They are going to be a little bit more stingy. So what is the ACC going to do? Is there something that he's thought about? That's going to be something I think will be interesting. I also want to hear about where he's at with realignment. Is there anything that he's thinking of now that we've heard, that the SEC says that they're done with realignment? The Pac-10 is in the process of potentially adding some more teams. Where does the ACC stand with that? Is there any updates, any details that he can give? Then we'll get to hear from Jeff Hafley. And, you're going to expect to hear a lot of the prepared remarks about last year. And I'm sure the theme will be moving and turning the page and learning from last year and adjusting. But to hear about what he's thinking about this upcoming season, where does he think the strengths of this team lie right now? How does he think his team is going to improve over last year? And where will BC, what are his goals for this upcoming season? I'd love to know, you've always heard a lot of these, Boston College coaches, they talk a lot about, in the past, it's been make a bowl game, compete for ACC championship. Love to hear what he has to say. And then, honestly, more than Hafley, because I've talked to Hafley. We've had him on the show. We had him on for 40 minutes the other day. I want to hear from the players. I would love to. I'm excited for the three that they brought. And I'll tell you why. A lot of times, and this is not to bash certain kids, they bring guys that are just like old, veterans and leaders that you can ask them and you're just going to get the same like stock answers because it's not really much to pick from them. And I was worried it was going to be like Elijah Jones or Vinny DePalma, which again, no disrespect to either of those guys. Just there's not much you can ask them. Christian Mahogany, there is so much meat on that bones to talk about what's going on with him. How is his rehab going? Love to hear about that. How is he feeling about this upcoming season? Where, why did he decide to come back to Boston College? Were there chances for him to transfer elsewhere? And why did he stick with BC? That's a lot. I mean, just off the top of my head, those were some things I'd love to hear from Christian Mahogany. You have Emmett Morehead, who's this first year as a full-time quarterback. What does it feel like to run this offense? What does it feel like having a new offensive line in front of you? What differences have you seen? What changes do you expect? There's a ton with Emmett Morehead you can get into. And then finally, Donovan Azaraku could be the breakout star of this team this year. He was second in the ACC in sacks last year. What's it like being the leader of this defense? What are you expecting, from yourself? How do you want to see yourself grow? There is a ton with him. So I'm really glad that they chose the 3 players that they did, because there's going to be some really, hopefully, interesting discussions with the 3 of them about this upcoming season that I think would have lacked, you would have not had a chance to ask if they picked other people. So again, Hafley and his crew, I think, are all on Thursday. It's a 3-day event. You'll also get to see the ACC Media poll, the Players of the Year. Don't expect much from BC, folks. I'm telling you right now, from all the polls I've seen, a lot of folks are just stuck with what happened last year and don't see anything improvement. And hey, we'll have to wait and see. You guys prove it on the field, right? So it's back to Boston College as the school that's being disrespected. We've had this in years past. Will they be able to get themselves up by their bootstraps and get passes, or are they doomed again? We'll have to wait and see. Now, in our final segment, I have loads of news items that we have not been able to get to because of our 3 days a week. And I want to get into a whole bunch, including Sal Frelick heading to Europe for basketball and a whole bunch more. We'll get to that in just a moment. This is Locked On BC, AJ Black. And I just want to say, this summer, I've had the opportunity to really get back into baseball, both on my site covering BC baseball and the new hiring of Todd Interdonato, replacing Mike Gambino, but just personally too. I've gone to a couple Woo Sox games. I just saw the Worcester Bravehearts, which was really cool. It's like the Cape League, but for local kids. So there was a bunch of kids I saw Northeastern, Michigan, some smaller schools. And it's just been fun to get back into baseball. I've been such a Laps fan. I used to love the Red Sox when I was younger, but now when I have a younger kid and I want to get him into baseball, and my younger daughter too, minor league baseball and college baseball has been the best. But on Saturday night, there was a BC baseball news item that is well worth talking about. And that was the promotion of outfielder Sal Frelick by the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, Frelick was the 15th pick by the Brewers in the 2021 draft. He was with AAA all the spring and summer, but was called up on Saturday and put into the starting lineup. Very cool moment, right? This is a kid from Lexington, Massachusetts, had a chance to play quarterback. He was recruited to play quarterback at Boston College, ended up playing baseball, and basically tore the cover off the baseball for 3 seasons with the Eagles before he was drafted in the first round. He gets called up. You look at his minor league stats and you're like, this might be a bit of a learning curve for the youngster. He was hitting 231 in AAA, comes up, first game. First at bat, single. Second at bat, single. Third at bat, gets the tying run home on a single. Fourth at bat, he hits a sac fly to also bring home the game-winning run. He went 3 for 3 or 4 for 4 in this game, hit 1,000 for the day, and made 2 insane catches. Not surprising for the ACC Defensive Player of the Year in 2021 for the Brewers to seal the win. This was an incredible output for a first game player, a debut that will be memorable for Frelick and Milwaukee fans all over the place, and Boston College fans too. When you see a guy that was the face of your team, that had, he was during some tough years with one of the best players that BC's ever had, go out there in his first game and look like he's been there for years, that was cool. The social media outpour for him was crazy. You saw everything from current players like John West, former players like Cody Morissette, Mike Lupica, who has a connection to Boston College, the BC accounts, Major League Baseball, Sports Center, all talking about Sal Frelick. That is a cool moment for the program. That showcases what BC can do. When you have a guy that can go out there and have such an explosive, and everyone's paying attention to him, moment like this, it's nothing but good things for your program. So I wanted to bring that up. Speaking of John West, I think I told you, but I want to remind you again, he's coming back to BC. He announced that he's withdrawing from the transfer portal and coming back to Boston College for this upcoming season. Huge get for BC, as he was one of BC's most reliable starters at the end of last year, including a big start against Notre Dame at Fenway Park in the strikeout ALS game that was emotional for him because he lost his dad to ALS, but he had some big outings there for the Eagles. Big get for Todd Ingenado to get him back. And then finally, basketball news. It's been running on our ticker here, but I haven't had a chance to talk about it. Men's basketball is heading to Europe in August. Now, men's basketball is going to go to Spain and Italy. This is cool for a couple different reasons. This is their first trip to Europe since, first trip abroad since 2018 when they went to the Bahamas. But they get to go for 2 weeks, or I think it's 10 days. They get 10 extra practices, which from a logistical standpoint is great. You get to get the guys, a little bit more together. They get some exhibition games against probably, club teams from out in Spain and Italy. And they get to travel around Europe for 10 days. This is a great recruiting tool. I don't know how often they're going to be doing this, but you can use it as a recruiting tool. It's good for team morale. It bonds the team. I like this specifically because going into this season, when you have such high expectations, and I saw John Rothstein putting BC at like the bottom of the ACC, whatever. Losing Mekhi Ashton Langford is not that big of a deal. Like, you're going to get guys back that'll be fine. He's a good player. I don't want to get into that. But anyways, I digress. When you get the opportunity to get a running start into the season, instead of, hitting your, getting things a little bit rusty and figuring some things out, this team should be sprinting into the season. And that should prevent, hopefully, some WTF losses. Those losses that you're like, what the heck happened? Why are they losing this game? Because if they're already playing and they've got, weeks and weeks of practice behind them, and they're feeling more like a fine-tuned machine, like kind of like what we saw in the ACC season, part of the season last year, that should only improve them. So this is like a win-win in a bunch of different ways for BC to get this trip. It's great for morale. It's a memorable experience, and it'll help for the upcoming season. Now, later this week, we'll be back on Wednesday to talk more about everything going on, including hopefully a big recruiting week. This is a live week for BC football recruiting, and we'll get some news and hopefully some updates there. We'll have a whole bunch of other things going on as we get ready for ACC Media Days. If anything else pops up, if Jim Phillips has talked, we'll have all his comments and talk about how that impacts Boston College. Make sure to follow me on X or Twitter or whatever the heck it's called right now at AJ Black 247. Find me on Threads at AJ Black 247, or more, if you really want the easiest way and not have to deal with a whole bunch of junk, become an Eagle Insider member right now. Just head on over, get subscribed. You get free access to me. I have an Ask AJ Anything thread just for VIP users. They ask me questions all the time. There's over 1,000 threads on there. You can become part of that too. You get all details of everything. So hopefully you'll join us there too. We'll be back again on Wednesday. This is AJ Black. Thank you all so much. See you again soon.